Hey, it's me, Nalthazar, and welcome to another Magic Puzzle Quest video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over a brand new card type introduced to Magic Puzzle Quest with M21. And that card type is Shrines. So, 6 Shrines got introduced to us in M21, starting with the mythic Sanctum to All, and then, or Sanctum of All, and then 5 uncommons, 1 for each color. So there's a red, a blue, a green, a black, and a white shrine. So before we get into all of this, thank you guys again so much for 1K subs. This is my first video following that. Let me know what you guys think of the new formats and animations and stuff in this video. And let's get rolling. Alrighty, so as I mentioned, we've got 6 shrines, starting with Sanctum of All. So Sanctum of All is the mythic support shrine. It's got 5 shields, and at the beginning of your turn, fetch the first shrine card from your library and put it directly onto the battlefield. You don't have to pay the mana cost or anything. This can be kind of cool for if you want to build up or it supports shield count really fast, because you can just have this Sanctum of All as the only shrine in your deck, and then it's just going to keep fetching itself every turn, which means it's going to be reinforcing 5 shields every turn, which means it's going to have quite a large shield count pretty quickly. So if you're a newer player, there's going to be some cool stuff that you can do with this. Cards like All That Glitters, stuff like that. You can get a shield count up pretty high. But if you're trying to actually play with the shrines, you're going to be using it ideally to fetch your other shrines for you. It also has, at the end of your turn, if you control 6 or more different shrine cards, shrine supports, right, you're going to create the Sanctum of None token. The Sanctum of None token is an enchantment shrine. It's a support. It's got 1 shield, and at the beginning of your turn, gain X loyalty. X is 3 plus the number of shrine cards you control. So that's going to be a maximum of 9 loyalty gained per turn, or during, each of your turns, right? And then at the beginning of combat on your turn, exile this support. So it's only got 1 shield, which means that any gem match is going to destroy this, and then but if you do wind up keeping it, then you can get quite a lot of loyalty out of it. As for the shrines themselves, there are 5 non-mythic ones of the 1 for each color, right? So Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest is the green one. The green one's going to give you mana at the beginning of each of your turns, where it's going to be 2 plus the number of shrines you control. So for a maximum of 8. Now I suppose there is this Sanctum of None token from Sanctum of All that does count as a shrine, so you could go ahead and say 9, which means that the Sanctum of None token could actually give you 10 instead of 9 loyalty. But yeah, so Sanctum of Fruitful Harvest is going to give you a maximum then of 9 mana per turn. You've got the black one, which is going to be Sanctum of Stone's Fangs, and that one's going to make it so your opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where that's going to be 2 plus the number of shrines you control. So every turn, your opponent can lose a maximum of 9 life, and you gain a maximum of 9 life. The blue one is going to make you draw a maximum of 7 cards, where 7 is the number of shrines you control, and then you're going to discard the last card in your hand before you do that. The white one is going to make it so that each opposing creature gets -X/-0 until end of turn, where X is 2 plus the number of shrines, so up to 9. However, those are 3 trapped white gems, meaning that your opponent actually has to match those trapped white gems in order for anything to happen from that card. And then finally, the red one is Sanctum of Shattered Heights, and this one is going to have it so that you may discard the last land or shrine card from your hand. And then if you do, you deal X damage to any opposing target, where X is 2 plus the number of shrines you control, once again for a maximum of 9, which means that with the red and the black ones put together, you can be doing a maximum of 18 damage per turn to your opponent just by having all of these shrines down. Now, the deck that I wound up putting all of these in uses all 6 of the shrines. As all the shrines are enchantments, I decided to run it with Eidolon of Blossoms just to try and keep drawing things, get some gem conversion going, try and make this as nifty as possible. Idyllic Tutor is here so that we can try and fetch specific shrines. We've got Genesis Ultimatum because, well, everything in the deck basically is a shrine, so we want it. And we've got Ruinous Ultimatum for some removal. Now, As for what I think of the shrines in general, after playing with them, I really wish that they were based on how many shrines and shrine reinforcements you control, because then that would actually have been really cool. As it stands, the shrines are a little bit underwhelming because A, you have to play them with a colorless planeswalker to be able to use all of them, and B, I mean, doing up to 18 damage per turn isn't exactly the most damage you're ever going to deal. That being said, I did actually like it was cool to do this. It was interesting at the very least. It was a very much so a different style of play. So I've got some cool gameplay for you. Let's go ahead and check that out. So here we get matched up against Garruk. We've actually got the Sanctum of All in our starting hand, which is pretty sweet. We've got Sanctum of Calm Waters in our hand too. So I'm just thinking about maximizing the potential of my shrines here, getting them all out. This was pretty early on in my shrine testing, so dropping the Sanctum of All was a pretty foolish move as things go, because if I had gotten that down, then I could have started getting a shrine every single turn. So if you do get this card and you are playing it, definitely make sure to definitely make sure to get that Sanctum of All as quickly as possible. So at this stage, what I am actually doing with the blue one is I'm trying to fetch Eidolon of Blossoms. And so I'm going to go ahead and take the green shrine here, because I will be getting a whole bunch of green gem conversion. And so with the green gem conversion, naturally I'm going to want to have as large of a green mana bonus as possible. That was just a big boom match, so I was like, yeah, sure, I'm definitely going to take this. It's going to get me to the red shrine. I've got a Ruinous Ultimatum almost all the way ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and make another match because, I got the 5 match, so I mean, might as well. We're going to have the option with Sanctum of Waters. I'm absolutely going to be taking it. I've got a few shrines, so you're going to see that I'm actually drawing a few cards. I've got 3 shrines, so I drew 3 cards. Just checking my opponent's Vanguard there. I haven't really seen that Vivian with that art yet, so I was like, hey, what is this? But at this stage, I've got a pretty full hand of a bunch of stuff that I definitely don't need. Karn's Third is really nice because it just gives you a little bit more oomph to try and take your opponent out with. Simply, the shrines, their damage is it's middling. So I've got the choice to get rid of that last card in my hand, burn my opponent, do some good stuff like that. So that's what's going on here. We're going to do that. We've got Sanctum of All in our hand finally, which is fantastic again. So this is going to make up for that earlier faux pas where I got rid of it. And so at this point now, having the Sanctum down is going to be huge for the deck, because you're going to start seeing shrines coming down every single turn. And once the shrines start coming down every turn, you're able to have a lot more effective turns. So I sadly don't actually have a mana match here, so I have to wait one more turn, but that's okay. I've got the green Sanctum, and so the green Sanctum is going to be giving me mana. It's going to be feeding me. So you're going to be seeing that coming into play too. Now, the Karn support is actually going to be giving me the shrines that I was getting rid of earlier back with by discarding them to the blue shrine, which is kind of cool. It's just a neat little bonus interaction with it. And so here, I've definitely got the cards and the mana to play the Sanctum of All. I've got the blue one. I'm going to go ahead and drop a Genesis Ultimatum, which is going to be nice because that's going to get me a whole bunch of cards with mana, because pretty much this whole deck is enchantments and shrines. We're going to start burning Garruk down a little bit more because, burning Garruk is a good thing. We want to get rid of him for sure. The little Wolfie tokens are not even a concern remotely, because the doggo tokens are going to make it so it does damage to something that has prevent damage. So, I mean, whoop-de-doo, buddy. It's not going to do anything. We've got a whole bunch of shrines that are out. We're going to be able to ruin his ultimatum away, everything that Garruk has. So, I mean, that's really bad for Garruk, because Garruk had this whole pretty setup going. And then we were able to get the Eidolon of Blossoms down, which means that now we can start getting a whole bunch of gem conversion in addition to all the other good stuff that's going to be happening because we're playing with the shrines. So we've got all these shrines doing stuff. I mean, not like a whole lot of stuff, but they're still definitely doing stuff, right? So we've got the blue shrine here making us discard to draw cards. We've got the red shrine that we're using to ping Garruk directly to the face. We've got Karn's Third that's also going to be hitting Garruk pretty hard. Garruk is going to be making more Vojas, which means that there are going to be more wolves doing absolutely nothing to Karn's third ability because, once again, prevent damage. Greg, will you ever learn? I mean, I honestly doubt that Greg will learn, but, you know, it'd be kind of cool to see Greg learn a little bit on that front. But yeah, anyway, so we're gonna give Garruk his second ability. Really doesn't mean anything here because we're going to be able to do horrible things. Namely, the Red Shrine is definitely going to let us get rid of Voja, which means that we don't have to worry about the third ability potentially coming in and bringing in a whole bunch of wolves doing damage. Although, to be fair, the wolves would just be doing damage to an indestructible or prevent damage token anyways. So, whatever. So here we've got a 5 match in the upper left with the green. And then after we make said match, we've just got like this whole battlefield of stuff. And once again, like, this brings us back to the shrines, right? So is there a really good reason to run all 6 shrines? And I feel like the answer just boils down to not really, right? Because as you can see here, like, the gameplay doesn't lie. They're doing a little bit here and there, but they definitely aren't doing enough to give like a wow factor, you know? I'd really love to see these shrines updated so that they did their effect based on how many of the shrines were out and how many reinforcements. This would make it so that you could actually use the shrines in like a dual color deck, because you could run like the green and the red ones together, and then you could get like a whole bunch of mana along with doing a whole bunch of damage, which would actually be pretty cool. There might be a reason to use them. You might even use the Sanctum of All in addition to them, just so you could get a little bit more shrine action going, you know? So this is one of those things where I feel like the way that they designed all the shrines was really good and spot on. But just if they would have added that, make it so that the reinforcements would actually count too, then these would be pretty sweet. Like, they would actually maybe even be like Supremo meta cards. But that's it. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know what you guys thought of this, and I'll see you in the next one.